First things first, episodes 12 and 13 of Bleach Stars in Your Blood War will be put together in a 1 hour special on December 22nd. What a gift to the people, the fans of Bleach and Tite Kubo. It's going to be a movie. One of the most emotional sequences in Bleach will be happening in those 2 episodes, and I can't wait. You know, there's a good thing that I don't think I'll have work on that day because I don't want to miss a second when this drops. I don't want to get spoiled on Twitter with any scenes. Even though I know what's going to happen, I like to still see the anime adaptation first thing without knowing anything going into it. But great news. Didn't expect it, but wow, that's going to be a great way to end the season and cap it off for honestly what's been one of the best adaptations of a series that I've seen this accurate and good in a nice little minute, especially for this year. But this episode was fuego. The completion of Unohana versus Kenpachi was magnificent. Unohana's Bankai Minazuki, it was a little different from Bleach Brave Souls. I don't really mind, and man, they did a really good job at this because from what I remember in the manga, it was kind of hard to depict what she was really doing, but we knew that she was like healing and using the blood blade and whatnot. But this looks so much better because of how smooth some of the blood looked. You even see like the whole basement changing. It's got like a foggy, bloody, like just texture to it in the background. I think that really fit, especially since the vibe that this fight has. It would pretty much fit. Only thing was, I kind of think it was a little bit too dark at times to see. I kind of wish they liked it. Just not necessarily brighten the whole area, but brighten the spots where they were actually fighting. Choreography on point. The action, I mean, that kind of speaks for itself. Always look good. But the day that Kenpachi and Unohana met, we go back to that little backstory of basically when they meet, Unohana giving Kenpachi his name essentially and passing it down. This was such a badass moment, and really just a look at how strong Kenpachi really is. The fact that he was, I don't know exactly how old he was, but he was basically a child, and he was so strong at that age. He was giving Unohana, and this is Unohana, who was a part of the OG Gote 13 and everything. He was actually giving her some problems and giving her a battle that she actually had to try for, and he's not even fully developed yet. Insane. That right there lets us know how much that Kenpachi was really suppressing when he's fighting, you know, his opponents. I mean, he only fights with one hand. He doesn't use his Zanpakuto. I mean, he doesn't really know its name like that. So there was like so many handicaps to Kenpachi, but he's still enjoying battle because his thing is he just wants to keep fighting forever, especially if it's someone who can push him and someone that like motivates him to keep fighting even stronger. He's just going to want to fight all day, and they pretty much got that from each other. And I like the touch of Kenpachi suppresses his power in order to enjoy that thrill of battle. Meanwhile, Unohana does the same thing, except she's healing herself to continue and enjoy the battle, just the thrill of it, because they just get hard on us for just extreme fights basically. The skeletal shots of Kenpachi was really a nice touch and captured the menacing tone really well. I like that they really honed in on that and kind of like showed just how dangerous Unohana really is with her Bankai. It's one of the most, I will say, like just savage and just in the nature. It feels almost evil, you know, how it's used. And in this case, it was just really good. Even the blood on the floor, it's like she's wiping up blood with the sword and using it just almost in like an elegant way to still slice up Kenpachi. I mean, it was just really good. There was just nothing wrong with it, in my opinion. And the ending sequence, the farewell, basically the end of Unohana, the death of Unohana, where, you know, after all that she's doing, because she is killing him over and over again, because she knows that whenever Kenpachi's pushed to the brink of death, he realizes, oh, I might die. That's when he unleashes his power, and you see how really strong he is. He did this against Neutra. He did it a little bit against Ichigo, although I still don't know how I feel about that, because if he was stronger than that, it's kind of like, well, he technically should have beat Ichigo, but that's how it was back then. We all know how. I mean, Ichigo obviously couldn't lose that, but it is what it is. That was in the past. But essentially, as she's killing him over and over again, she's giving him power-ups for the future, because that's the whole point of this. She's trying to get him stronger because they have an opponent they desperately need to beat. And Kenpachi is going to be one of the most vital characters. You know, when the Soul Reapers finally strike back, he was in my opinion the MVP of this, but he's going to be one of the MVPs of going up back against the Quincy's. And it was a really interesting way they're going to died, because it was sad, but in a way you almost didn't know how to feel because we don't spend that much time with Unohana as a character. This right here is the most we're gonna see of Unohana in one instance as a character in the series, but it's also her end. Then you really get to understand how much of a presence she was in the story with like little subtle hints, and especially now she was a part of that old gold tie and everything. A lot of her was very subtle because that's how Kubo really tells a story. He's a very subtle person in terms of how he wants to just explain how these characters are and their motives. So she was kind of a part of that, and a character that really was just subtle in just everything about her up until her end. And I think it was done really freaking well. I mean, even the bloodshot. I remember the panel of her saying, talking about how Kenpachi looks like a kid. Even the blood on her lips and everything, like that was like identical to even the positioning of how it worked, and just was paneled in the manga. Really, really good, man. But overall, this fight from episode 9 and bleeding into episode 10 was done really freaking well. The emotions, the OST, all of it great. And going forward, Kenpachi, y'all are gonna see the true Kenpachi Zaraki going into the later arcs. Now we got Owetsu. This is his part. This is the guy who created the Zanpakuto toes with Renji and Ichigo. Owetsu's personality, first though, I forgot how much he has like a bubbly personality and very flamboyant. I kind of forgot that because this portion I remember more so the outcome than I do like kind of the build up to and like those middle parts. So it was good watching this again and kind of getting a refresher. His Zanpakuto toes, it figures that the guy who created the Zanpakuto toes, part of his Zanpakuto toe is the fact that he made them girls. He made them a bunch of girls. Obviously, fan service that I am absolutely not against. I mean, there's nothing wrong with this. But I think that the most important thing about him is the fact that we will address him as the Blade God, Owetsu, because even though he might not come off as it, this guy is very dangerous when he really wants to get into it. He's one of the strongest, I'm sure, back in his time. The fact that he can create these things, but nonetheless, this part of the arc felt much faster than the manga, which I'm not really against. But then again, manga to anime adaptations, naturally, like dialogue scenes like that, they go by quicker, watching it than it is reading it. So you almost really don't understand until you like read it and then come back to this, how quick they got through this. But I'm glad they did, because you can tell, like I said earlier, about the way they're going to end this with the finale. They clearly were, there's a certain part they want to end at, and they're kind of rushing things, but I'm not against it, because the parts that they are cutting out, they're not even really that important going forward. But the main part of this though was Owetsu throwing Renji and Ichigo into a pit of Asauchi. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, I never really do, but their nameless Zanpakuto given to starter Soul Reapers and the 13 Court Guards so they can obtain their Zanpakuto. They're like a starting kit for Soul Reapers. The lore for the Zanpakuto in this stretch of the arc is always interesting to take note of. I was always just enamored with how the Zanpakuto even came to be, and this was like really fulfilling to me. I was interested in this a lot. And you also need to understand that they also are learning how to treat their bankais, because if you think about it, not only up until now, but Renji and Ichigo have broken their Zanpakutos more than anyone in the series, and it's not even close. Especially Renji, his has broken. Honestly, even in the Soul Society arc alone, his broke at least 2 or 3 times. So, and then Ichigo, his broke in the series at least almost every arc, honestly, except for like maybe Fullbringer. But I like how that came full circle into this and them learning how to treat their Zanpakutos truly and all of that. But the ending credits scene, man, this caught me off guard at first because I didn't realize how quick it ended and how it came about. But by the way, the ending, by the way, I love this ending so much, especially the more I listen to it. It's such a vibe. It's a bop at the end. I love it. I thought I loved the first one, then the first one that debuted in like episode 1, but this one, I love this one way more. It just has more emotion to it. I really like it. But the end credit scene of Owetsu, he sends Ichigo back to his roots because he noticed Ichigo, he's different than Renji. There's something he has to do first before he can really show him how to use his Zanpakuto and like how to, figure out what it really is. So he's doing him a favor, sending him back home to where it all started. And all I'm gonna say is everything but the ring.